All right, talk at the table now, and in three stories all impacting New York City in very different ways. The first, those continuing questions and now protests after a deadly police-involved shooting in Brooklyn last weekend. Protests in Bushwick nearly every night since the shooting death of 16-year-old Kamon Gray on Saturday. He was shot 7 times, including 3 to the back as he left the Sweet 16 party. Police say that Gray had pointed a gun at them. Gray's family and friends say that would have been out of character. The NYPD says the cops, both undercover, one of whom is black, the other Hispanic, approached Gray because he was acting suspiciously. One cop had previously been hit in the face with a bottle from a rooftop. Mayor Bloomberg has only said a full investigation will take place. The incident is the 10th police-involved shooting this year. In each case, the NYPD says the suspects were armed. Dominic, we're going to let the facts play out in this case here, and I think it's very early at this point to jump in, but the protests that have built up here over the last 3 days, it immediately said to me something that I thought the NYPD and the mayor's office, and this goes before even Bloomberg, had done such a better job of than I think they did in this case, was when there's a tragedy with a young person, you get out in front of it. You go talk to the community. You tell them you don't have the answers.
Let's be real, Richard. When a tragedy involving a young minority person, and normally a white police officer, but normally, continue.
And in this case, even though the shooters were people of color,
right?
I just thought they didn't learn. If you remember New York, I remember from the late 70s, early 80s, this stuff was a lot more common. There was parts of the city where cops wouldn't even go to almost, right? It was improved in part. Now people can say broken windows, we'll debate stop and frisk, better economy and all, but also because the mayor in the NYPD would get out there. They get booed at some of these town things, but they showed their faces here, not just when they had to, but even when they weren't the most popular people in the room. I don't think they did it in that case, and I think that's one of those lessons you see from these tragedies. That's the way to at least let the community know you're serious about it.
Well, number one, having covered a number of these police shootings over 2 decades, the NYPD normally, what they've learned from their mistakes, and normally the police commissioner or someone will get out there and say up front, hey, this shooting is shaky, it's going to go to a grand jury, or they'll say this person has a criminal record, blah, 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 blah. And normally that will lead to the community backing up a little bit. But it's a recipe for a disaster when you bring out, I'm going to be honest with you, Richard, when you bring out those horses, you're almost guaranteed a riot in a community of color because it has a historical symbol to those horses. And it's not a good idea unless you absolutely need them for crowd control. And they have, you notice the officers that wear the blue jackets, they're the community affairs officers. They're normally African-American, Latino officers of the community. You need more of them out there, not officers with the riot helmets and the long sticks. It sends a very bad message.
It's a tough segue here, but I want to get to another story in New York, and this of a much lighter variety, but still on a different level, albeit, but a sad story, and that is the Big East. And Tom, we're both big St. John's fans, but even if you weren't a St. John's fan, the Madison Square Garden, the Big East tournament, I mean, Ewing, I mean, we just saw a shot there of Mullen, you saw Iverson before that, Pearl Washington, remember? We can go through this. It was, in many ways, almost just a little bit below the NCAA tournament. That's how big it was, and it all comes to an end this year. And there was a comment, if we have it, guys, and this comes from the coach of the University of Cincinnati, Mark Cronin. And he said, and I think he said out loud what a lot of coaches may feel, but when his team got bounced, he said the whole thing's tragic. Nobody cares about student athletes. All anybody cares about is money. Everybody in the NCAA, everybody in college administration, they talk about academics and student athletes. If people cared about student athletes, West Virginia wouldn't be in the Big 12 with 10 teams flying 800 miles to the closest home game. That's really conducive to studying. The whole thing is hypocrisy. The whole thing's also, as you know, about football.
Right. It's all about football because football where the money is. And I was at the Big East on Wednesday night watching St. John's just, have fallen apart at the end of this year. But, I really think going forward now, as much as, the whole rivalry, Georgetown-Syracuse, and it's appropriate they're playing tonight, the Catholic 7 and adding the Butlers, et cetera, that has a great opportunity going forward to be.
It is a shame, though. You're right.
Absolutely,
I think it's finally cleaner, but it's such a shame.
Yeah, but you know that kind of changed, a few years ago when Louisville came in, et cetera. But you look back, we went through it. Everybody at this table, the games with the Pearl Washingtons, the Patrick Ewings, those games with Raleigh Massimino and Carnesecca with the sweater, and then Thompson wearing the sweater that day. Those was and Sports Illustrated has it on the cover this week.
Yeah.
Those were some of the best times growing up that I can remember.
It was a tough ticket, but it was great. Really quickly, Andrew, you had an idea here. Bloomberg, obviously, you love him or hate him. He certainly does what he wants lately, especially when he's not running for re-election. And you had an idea, if you could be Bloomberg for a day, what would you do?
Thinking about the soda ban, the same day in the paper, there was an article talking about just why people, when you hear one end of a cell phone conversation, it's so annoying. It's more annoying than if you hear both ends of it. It's like scientifically annoying. So I thought if I was Bloomberg, I would eliminate people talking to nobody on the little Bluetooth or just gabbing away on just somehow figure out a way to crack down on that.
I said limit opposite side of the street parking to once a week in all residential areas.
nice.
It's the biggest scam going,
Very
street
nice.
cleaning. It's just for
That
tickets.
is very good.
Brother Dominic.
I would continue with Bloomberg's public health initiatives. They are excellent ideas.
Why are you getting heavy on me?
Because,
We're doing
because,
softball.
because,
You're getting serious on me.
because I think it's an excellent idea. I really do with public health.
Bloomberg's got dirt on it.
Yes, exactly. Thomas?
I would legalize poker in the city.
Poker.
Yeah, because I really think that it'll be a tremendous source of revenue for the city, and it's a game, when I see people go by scratch-offs, it's a game of skill, not a game of chance.
Keep the truck deliveries here at night here, not during the day, you know?
Yes.
Come at they jam up the FDR.
And could we get bicycles off the street as we're really getting into stuff
Amen.
now? Just get them
Amen.
off the
We
street.
have to go to a
Amen.
break.
Amen.
We'll be right back.